Hello students. So let's discuss something about the introduction about nervous system. We all have seen in earlier classes a simple diagram of how a nerve looks like. And everything about a nervous system is about coordination. So this nervous system is built upon receiving different kinds of information about the external world. Which the animal is surrounded by. So the animal is always surrounded by an external world, and from that external world the animal must receive information. This information can be in the form of light. This information can be in the form of sound. This information can be in the form of pressure. This information can be in the form of heat. So in all these ways the animal gets information, and this information must be relayed to the animal, and the animal must respond. So all these things, whenever it receives inputs from light, sound, pressure, etc., all these are called as stimulus. Plural will be stimuli, and the animal must respond to it. That means it must react properly after taking this information and after integrating this information and after finding out what it should do, should not do. And this is called as irritability. And this entire function is done by control and coordination of the nervous system through nerves, essentially through nerves, and then through specific organs like a brain. So right from the different kinds of organs, we can be a visual organ, there can be an acoustic organ, there can be receptor cells throughout the body. All these receptor cells will work. So this stimulus basically comes from different types of receptor cells in organs. For example, eye is an organ, or skin can be an organ. So through these organs it will respond to it. So animals will respond through, say, gravity, and whatever is the response through gravity is called as geotropism. It will respond. So suppose there is an animal that is in water, and suppose you are taking one beaker and this is water, and you put some paramecia inside it, then all the paramecia will tend to accumulate here. That means they don't want to go deep into water. So they are not positively geotropic, but they are negatively geotropic. So we use the word geotropism in that case. Okay. Similarly, there can be chemicals. And response to chemicals will be called as chemotropism. Whether an animal will go too much towards the chemical, no. So it will be mostly negatively chemotropic. But depending upon the concentration, some chemicals, it may go positively toward. For example, low concentration of acetic acid, very low concentration of acetic acid. Animal like paramecium will tend to get attracted to it. So it is called positive chemotropism at a certain point, at a certain concentration. Okay. So in this way, there are different kinds of different responses to different types of stimuli. For example, there can be through contact or touch. We call this as thigmotropism. Then electricity or current. Galvanotropism. So these are some words that you can read about what each one means, like geotropism, chemotropism, thigmotropism, or galvanotropism. So here we will now continue with the next part, that is the B part, where I wanted to discuss about the structure of a nerve. A nerve cell is a very specialized cell. This part is called as a cytome or cell body. Now it will have two types of extensions to it. One extension is where the impulse is coming towards the cell body. So all these are called as each one is called as a dendron or dendrites. All these are called as dendrites. And this one is called as axon. This has got a nucleus over here, and because the nerve is quite active, it will have a lot of mitochondria. It also has got granules which we call as Nessels granules. This part of the cytone, which is moving towards the axon, this is called as axon hillock. This is a branch of the axon. So this is branching of axon. This is the nerve or axonic terminal. This is axonic terminal, and this one ends into these bulb-like structures, which we call as synaptic bulbs. Okay. Now these axons these are all, maybe some of them are enveloped by a special kind of fat containing material, and it looks like this. This is called as medulla. So a sheath of medulla or a fat material which is called as myelin is wrapped around it. Now when it wraps around it, at certain points this will have a nucleus. So we can call these nuclei named after, this is called as Schwann cell nucleus. This is the nucleus of the cell body or the cytone. Whereas this nucleus here, these are nucleus of Schwann cell. Okay. So actually here we can show a like a double wall over here. It will continue right up to this end. So each one of these points, this is called as node, there are several such node of Ranvier. These are called as node of Ranvier. So just like in a plant we have got several nodes, this has got looking like a node. So these nodes are called as nodes of Ranvier. And each one, so there are several such blocks are there. All these are called as Schwann cells. And these Schwann cells will show a nucleus. And the outermost layer over here is called as neurolemma. Is cross section of nerve axon. Okay. Then this oligodendrocyte which is there, it starts to go round it. Like this. So this becomes the layer of medulla. Medullary layer or myelin layer wrapped in concentric circles around the nerve axon. And therefore this last part over here, as it is doing so, will be covered by a layer which we call as neurolemma. And this, as we pointed out, is Schwann cell nucleus. The same thing was shown like this. So try to relate these two diagrams. This part is nothing but this medulla which is wrapped around it. And at certain points we will get node of Ranvier, and these are the nodes of Ranvier. And you will also get this nucleus, this Schwann cell nucleus. This medulla or myelin is a type of fat. It goes around the axon, therefore it is a poor conductor. Hence prevents loss of transmission. Hence very fast transmission. Therefore, some nerve fibers are medullary nerve fibers and some are non-medullary nerve fibers. Usually sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve fibers are of this type, whereas the remaining in types of nerve fibers in the body are medullary. So if there is no medullary sheath, they are called non-medullary nerve fibers, otherwise they are called as medullary nerve fibers. So this is one form of classification. B. So sometimes if there is an organ like an eye, then in the eye the cells that are receiving light and converting this light information into a kind of nerve impulse. So these are called as sensory cells, and therefore the nerves which are attached to it are called as sensory neurons. So some neurons are sensory neurons depending on the function that they are performing. Some of these are motor neurons. Some of these are integrative neurons. So this is according to function we are classifying it. And sometimes the neuron is multipolar, like in the diagram that we have just shown is multipolar. Sometimes they are apolar, like we have seen in the case of, for example, Hydra. So in case of Hydra, see, there is no such thing called as axon or dendron. This may work as axon and as dendron. Axon and dendron alternatively. Alternative functions of processes. That means suppose this is working for some time as dendron, it may also work as axon. That's why it is called as apolar. And sometimes we have bipolar. So bipolar. So here I will draw a diagram for this is example of, this is axon and this is the cell body or the cyton. These are dendrons. This is the axonic part and this is the cyton. Whereas bipolar, be something like this, but also that you can take a diagram. This part is connected to the sensory part. It's attached to the sensory cell. For example, the retina cells, sensory. So from this, there are two processes are there. One is toward the sensory cell, and one is connected to the nervous system. From this one cell body itself, there are two parts that are emerging out. So this is called as bipolar, and some can be unipolar. For example, in the dorsal root ganglion, there will be one such cyton, and it then branches like this. Where one will be functioning like the axon and one will be functioning as the dendrons. This is the cyton, and this cyton is now branching into two parts. Therefore, this is called as unipolar. For example, in dorsal root ganglion. So we can classify nerves according to this, wherever axon and wherever the dendrons are present. According to that, you can call them as multipolar, apolar, bipolar, unipolar. And if medulla is present or absent, you can call them as medullary or non-medullary. Similarly, you can call them as myelinated and non-myelinated nerve fiber. Same thing. Medullary nerve fiber, also we write this as myelinated nerve fiber, or here non-myelinated nerve fiber. Similarly, according to function, you can call them as sensory neuron, motor neuron, or integrated or associative neuron. So these are the ways in which we will classify different types of nerve cells. So with that, we come to the end of this introductory topic. Thank you.